Hello beautiful teachers, I'm Nicola Canton from Colourful Keys and Vibrant Music Teaching, and in this video we're going to talk about some of the best books out there, in my opinion, for young piano beginners. So if you've come across my work before, you might know that I'm big on teaching young students. That's one of the things I'm best known for, and I have a lot of different resources to help teachers do that. I specialise in teaching with games, so we incorporate a lot of that into our lessons, and I found it to be really a fantastic, enriching thing for my studio. But it does have to be done differently. So I have a whole book about that called Playful Preschool Piano Teaching, and that's about teaching young preschoolers, and I do suggest taking a look at that or some of the free resources I have here on the channel, because it's not all about the book. So before I talk about the books, let's talk about the other stuff that needs to happen. Young beginners need, in my opinion, a fun, interactive approach. Games are the best way to do that. They need things like improvisation and different ways to explore the piano. They need rote pieces mixed in with their regular work, and they generally need a bit of a different approach. So I have a curriculum on my site, Vibrant Music Teaching, called Tiny Finger Takeoff, and any of these books I would be using alongside that. That brings together lesson plans for everything but the pieces. They're called but the pieces plans, okay? So you have a book and then you have all the other stuff you're doing in the lesson. The book is just one component. With that out of the way, let's talk about some of my favorites. So the one we use the most commonly in my studio is Piano Safari. So this is Piano Safari Book 1. As you can see, it's my studio copy. This is not designed for young beginners in particular. They would say maybe it starts from ages 7 and up, 8 and up, something like that. I haven't looked on the website about that recently, but they say something like that, a sort of standard age beginner. However, we have successfully used this with students as young as 3. Now, the thing you need to bear in mind is, first of all, we're incorporating a lot of other things, so the pace is going to be slower through that book. It may take up to 2 years to get through this book. That doesn't mean the student isn't learning a ton in that time, or that they should wait for lessons, because they might as well, because it's going to take 2 years to get through a book anyway. It just means that they're learning a lot of other things besides reading, and reading is not going to be the fastest thing to develop at ages 3 to 5. But they can get through this material, and it does provide a wonderful foundation for reading. So it is my top choice for most young-ish beginners, like any student up to the age of 10. I would generally want to start them in Piano Safari unless I have a reason not to, like they have a sibling in lessons, they're just not suited to this approach for some other reason. And in that case, I have lots of other materials to use, but this would be my top choice. They do have a new book called Piano Safari Friends. It just came out last year, and that is designed for young beginners. I still would opt for regular Piano Safari in a lot of the cases where the parent is going to support the student at home. But where you have a student who is in regular one-on-one lessons, rather than having a group available to them, they're going to do regular one-on-one lessons, but through experience or through what you're expecting, you don't think the parent is going to practice with them at home. You may not be expecting any practice at home. Piano Safari Friends will be a better fit because it's just more exploratory. It's sort of a slower pace and more about improvisation and rote pieces and things like that. Whereas Piano Safari 1, for a young beginner, you're going to need some home parental support if you don't want it to move glacially slowly, and you don't want that. Now, if, for example, I have a sibling that's already in Piano Safari and I don't like to have siblings in the same method, speaking as the youngest of 5, not a good idea. So I like to have other options. And one of my others is My First Piano Adventures. You've probably seen this one of the most popular books for young beginners. So this is book C. It's just what I had on hand today, but it starts at level A and then B and then C. And from there, the idea is that you would then progress to Piano Adventures level 1 would be the next step. So those 3 books really replace the Piano Adventures primer level that would be in the regular aged beginner series. Now, I do like these books. I've used them successfully. I love the backing tracks that go along with them. They're a little bit cheesy, but that doesn't matter. So definitely get those, make sure you have them set up and use them at every lesson if you're using these books. The reading approach is mostly steady and slow, which is good. And I like, you know, the large notation, the simplicity of it. I think the reading approach is best in book B, level B. So level A is really pre-reading, and that's great as an introduction. Some of the pieces are a little bit challenging, like the Twinkle Twinkle Little Star one. Don't worry if it takes your student a while to get that one if you haven't been using the books, and do use some colored tokens on the keys. That's a little tip for that one. But in general, in book B, I think the reading progress is really at the right pace for the age in my experience. And then in level C, it can become a bit too challenging, especially to play with those backing tracks. That's just been my experience with the books. However, I do think they're a great place to start. And again, if you're incorporating lots of other stuff, either putting it together yourself or using a curriculum like Tiny Finger Takeoff, that can be a great option. And this just provides the reading or piece component there. Okay, the next one is Roadtrip. This is from Piano Pronto. So created by Jennifer Eklund and Chris Skaletsky. I almost get her name wrong. Sorry, Chris. That is Roadtrip. Now this is just one of them. There are 4 of these. So what's cool about these is that they come with a teacher guidebook. So there's lots of really lesson structure planned out for you, which is great because the regular student book is just pieces. They're fairly simple. They can be taught by rote, note, or number. That's their way of saying it, which I like. So it's a very flexible series, and again can provide a great sort of reading or piece component in an otherwise well planned out lesson with other stuff going on. So the teacher guidebooks that go along with them are great. They have lovely teacher duets and a sort of lesson plan laid out for you. And the books, there are 4 different ones. So they each have a different theme. Basically in each book you go on a road trip. So the songs tell the story of this road trip. If you have a kid who's really into stories and things like that at this age, some are, some aren't, but if they really get into that, that can really help you to sell the pieces and to make it all that much more fun. But each road trip goes to a different place, so that's why the different books, and they're all basically lateral movements. I think there's 2, the blue one and the green one, as I think of them, are slightly easier, and then this red one and the brown one are slightly harder. So this is the carnival, the brown one is to the farm, green is outdoor adventure, and blue is just road trip because that was the first one. So outdoor adventure I think is the easiest. I tend to start with that one, and then if you find, oh, this student is, you know, having fun but not really ready for anything any harder than this, you have the blue one to go to. And then if they're ready for a little bit more of a step up, you could go to the red or the brown, right? So it's great in that, from that perspective. Definitely get your kids coloring in the pages, coloring in their cover, get them invested in terms of that. And again, make sure you use those backing tracks and the teacher duet parts for that one. Okay, now something many teachers, many members of Vibrant Music Teaching do is they actually take our group preschool curriculum and they do it one-on-one, or they do components of it in a one-on-one lesson. So that's another great option. If your student, again, is not going to practice necessarily at home, you don't think they will, or not a ton, then mini musicians can be a great place to start. Or if you just think they're a little bit on the immature side for their age, so they're 4, but they're really struggling still with fine motor control and things like that, then this can be a great option for them because it's going to be that slower, gentler pace. It's designed for no practice to happen at home. So Mini Musicians comes with an optional component of these star songs. Sorry, this book's a bit grubby, but this is what they look like. And these are all included inside the course in Vibrant Music Teaching, so just a regular part of our membership. You can find the link in the description for that. But these star songs, they're just songs, okay? There's no instructional material in here. It's all in the course, but they're just laid out like this. So they're a very intuitive way that makes sense to students at this age. If you place the matching tokens on the keys, they can see how one note matches up with one note and really start to get to grips with the whole reading thing. And I found it to be a great way into reading. As a side note, we've also used these with some neurodivergent students as a gentle introduction to reading. If reading is difficult for them or maybe a sensitive topic for them, this can be a great way in because they can figure it out by themselves if you feel empowered to do so, and then they make great progress on from there when they're ready. Now, some other methods that I know teacher friends like, but I haven't used personally myself, for young beginners are Wonder Keys and Music for Little Mozarts and Tales of a Musical Journey. I haven't used those three, or Wonder Keys I've used the older version, and same with Tales, but they don't quite fit into the way I teach now. There are other great options for you to look at if these ones don't appeal to you though. One more thing I wanted to mention though is about rote pieces. So at this age, students are really more suited to learning by rote than by reading, learning from patterns, and they can learn to read, but generally at a gentler pace. So you need exciting music to keep them playing and to keep them learning technique and using their ears and all those great things. Two great sources for extra rote pieces if you need them. These are the books by Paula Dreyer, and they are called Little Gems for Piano. You can pick them up from her website, so Little Gems for Piano, just Google that, or look in the description, we'll have a link for you there. And they are beautiful rote pieces, great for students at this age, especially if you start with the easiest books. And another great source for rote music is Samantha Coates' site, which is roterepertoire.com. Those pieces, you can buy individual pieces, you can buy them as bundles, do all sorts of things like that. And there's just a great scope of different pieces there. We also have a video about that site, so we'll link to that in the description as well. I hope this has been a good overview of young beginner piano methods. Let me know your favorite if I've missed one in the comments, or if there's one of these that I talked about that you just don't get at all. Let me know your questions about it. I'd be happy to